You ever get that feeling, that strange sense that you're not really in the driver's seat? Like the world is just following some script and you're just, well, playing your part?
Well, what if I told you that that feeling, it might be closer to the truth than you think? And to really get our heads around that, we need to start by looking at the stories we choose to get lost in. So let's start somewhere we all know well, television. Think about your favorite show. You invite these people into your home, right? Week after week, sometimes for years. We watch them live, we watch them love, we see them struggle. And we believe in their world, because deep down we believe in them. And that, right there, that's the secret sauce. For storytellers like Damon Lindelof, one of the co-creators of Lost, characters aren't just chess pieces moving around a board. No, they are the board. The whole universe, the entire story, is built on one thing, making us believe these people are totally, completely real.
You know, there's actually a name for this. Psychologists call it a parasocial relationship. It's basically a one-way street of emotion. We pour hours of our lives into these characters, we feel what they feel, and they have no clue we even exist. It's this incredibly powerful, super one-sided bond that really drives so much of television.
And a huge part of why we get so hooked is something researchers call mind reading. It's what we're doing the whole time we're watching. We're like these little detectives, right? We're constantly trying to figure out what's going on inside their heads. What's she really thinking? Wait, why did he just do that? Every little glance, every pause, we're analyzing it all, building this picture of a person who feels just as complex as anyone we know in real life.
But here's the thing. These worlds, as perfectly built as they seem, are actually really fragile. There's this thin, invisible string connecting them to our messy, unpredictable reality. And every now and then, that string gets a good, hard yank.
And that's where it gets really interesting. What happens when the real world and all its chaos just comes smashing through the screen? Suddenly, that beautiful, perfect illusion, it just shatters.
And this can happen for all sorts of reasons. An actor can tragically pass away, like Nancy Marchand did during The Sopranos, or maybe they get pregnant, or get fired, or just decide they've had enough and want to leave. And all of a sudden, the writers, the people who are supposed to be the gods of this little universe, are scrambling, forced to deal with something they have absolutely no control over.
Let's take a look at the show Lost. It was famous for its crazy detailed plot, and it's a perfect case study for this. So here's our first glitch. You've got two actors arrested for DUIs in Hawaii while they're filming. Then, not long after, in the story, bam! Both of their characters, Ana Lucia and Libby, are killed off in this really shocking way. Was it a coincidence? I mean, the producers said yes, of course, but for everyone watching, that line between the story and real life got really blurry, really fast.
Okay, glitch number 2. The actor playing a character named Iko, a character who was supposed to be this huge central part of the story for multiple seasons, well, he just didn't like living in Hawaii. Simple as that. So he asked to be written off the show. And just like that, a major piece of the show's master plan had to be, unceremoniously killed by a smoke monster. The writers had to completely pivot and figure out a new direction for the whole series. And this one is maybe the best example of reality just refusing to be ignored. The kid actor playing Walt, well, he was a kid, and kids, they grow a lot. The problem was the show's timeline was super compressed. Only a few months were passing in the story. So when Walt would show up again, he'd be noticeably taller, completely breaking the illusion. They had to pretty much write him off the island, only bringing him back in these weird dream scenes that another character even makes a joke about, calling him Taller Ghost Walt. I mean, you can't get more on the nose than that. Reality literally outgrew the story.
Okay, so we've seen how every fictional story has its own base reality, the real world of actors and contracts that can just crash the party at any time. So let's zoom out, way, way out, and ask a much, much bigger question. What if our reality isn't the base reality? What if we're the story, just a program running on some cosmic hard drive, in a universe we can't even perceive? And look, this isn't just the plot of The Matrix. This is a serious idea. Back in 2003, a philosopher from Oxford University, a guy named Nick Bostrom, he published a paper that took this concept out of science fiction and dropped it right into the middle of serious academic philosophy. And this wasn't just some casual what-if kind of thing. He used pure logic, pure probability, to build an argument that leads to this just wild conclusion that statistically, it's actually more likely that we are living in a computer simulation than that we're not.
His whole argument comes down to something he calls the simulation trilemma. It's pretty straightforward, really. He says that one of these three things has to be true. 1. Humanity just fizzles out. We go extinct before we ever get to a post-human stage where we could run these kinds of super advanced simulations. 2. We get there, we have the technology, but for whatever reason, maybe ethical, maybe we're just bored, we're simply not interested in running simulations of our ancestors. But, and here's the kicker, if you think options 1 and 2 are pretty unlikely, if you believe we're going to survive and that we'll always be curious about where we came from, then you're kind of forced into option 3, that future civilizations will run billions of these ancestor simulations, and if that's the case, simple odds say we are almost certainly inside one of them right now.
And that brings us right back to where we started. If you follow the logic, if Bostrom is onto something, then our relationship with whatever created us, it starts to look an awful lot like the relationship between those TV characters and their writers.
I mean, think about it, right? A TV character lives in this world that was completely constructed for them. They have no idea about the cameras, the actors, the whole production crew just beyond the walls of the set. So what if our world is built out of code, and we're just as clueless about the base reality where our creators are hanging out?
And what about those glitches? Those moments where real life writes the plot? What are the glitches in our world? You know? Is that moment of unbelievable, unexplainable good luck just a bug in the code? Is a sudden, tragic accident just our creators deciding it's time to write a character out of the story?
So, the next time your life feels a little too weird, a little too scripted, almost like you're in a movie, maybe, just maybe, you are. And that leaves us with one last, really big question we all have to ask ourselves. If this is all a story, what part are you playing?